16 years. That's how long it's been since I first stepped into Edgewood Community Church. It was our first public service. I remember back then we had to divide the room in half because there were so few of us. I remember that there was just one person standing behind a lectern leading the music with a piano, and how things have changed. God has just blessed and multiplying and grown us as a church.
I remember when we came here in January of 1999 and where the church was, and then we just started seeing God do cool stuff at this facility, and then the expansion and then the staff, and just kept adding staff. And
I remember first walking into Edgewood Community Church, and one of the first things that struck me was this space. I mean, this is a church that clearly cares about its children and its middle schoolers and its high schoolers. And so I walked in here and just kind of paused and looked around and thought, what a marvelous place to learn about Christ, to learn about what it means to be part of the church.
We're reaching out to so many communities in our areas with the good news of Jesus Christ. It's so exciting. So many things have changed in those 16 years. Yet there's one thing that's been the same throughout, and that's the people. People who serve their hearts out, genuine people who love Jesus and just want others to know Him, love Him, and follow Him too.
You just don't start a church just to start a church, but it was just wonderful to see people come to know Christ. Hopefully in the future, even more so.
Well, I have seen the Lord really bless this church because they have gone into so many different programs, the building of the education wing, adding so many things.
I just feel that I'm being really fed here and that it's opened up a whole new me inside as far as giving myself to the Lord and doing what He wants me to do, being led by Him.
I love coming to Edgewood Church because I love all the people here and I just love how real they are. I feel like my relationship with God has gotten more just personal and just more of God's like really involved in my life.
I mean, Roger, he puts it right on the line. He's right to the point. It really does something for me. I never had this kind of feeling.
Every week it's that way. I love this church.
I quote 2 Corinthians 5:15 all the time. And He died for all, that those who live should no longer live for themselves, but for Him who died for them and was raised again. When we understand that Jesus died for us, when we really get that, it causes us to want to live for Him. But here's the question. What does it really mean to live for Him? We all have different ideas. Well, recently I kept reading in this passage. Listen to this. Paul says that living for Christ happens when you stop looking at people the way you used to look at people. You know, we all have human ways of looking at others. Black or white, man or woman, rich or poor. But Paul said when he looked at people, he looked at whether they were a new creation or an old creation. And it reminds me of what C.S. Lewis said. There are no ordinary people. You've never talked to a mere mortal. When Paul met a person, he looked at them in one of two ways. Either they were a believer or they were someone who had yet to believe. And that changed everything about his interaction with them. That's what Paul says here that it means to live for Jesus, to see people as God sees them, and then to speak to them in such a way that they would see God, to understand that God was in Christ, reconciling the world to Himself, not counting men's sins against them, and He has amazingly entrusted to us the ministry of reconciliation. To live for Christ, therefore, is to be an ambassador for God. That's what Edgewood has been doing for these 16 years, living for Christ by pleading with people to believe in Jesus, to have their sins forgiven by repenting and trusting in Him alone. And that's why we've titled this campaign, So All May Know, because it's what we're all about, living for the one who died for us, and doing so by getting this message out more effectively. Now, specifically, this means a couple of things. First, we desire to have a permanent facility in Fond du Lac. We've got a great temporary facility now, but we recognize that of the 40,000 people in Fond du Lac that we're trying to reach, there are at least some of them who would not come to a school auditorium to hear the message. Therefore, to support the proclamation of this message that God has called us to get out, to live for Him, we desire to purchase a permanent property in Fond du Lac so we can powerfully proclaim this life-changing word. Second, we want a greater freedom in Waupun to proclaim this message. As it stands right now, we have about $700,000 in debt on our current facility. We want to eliminate this debt so we're more ready and able to do whatever the Lord calls us to next. I imagine many of you have a mortgage on your home right now. Imagine the freedom that would come your way if you didn't have that note to pay every month. Imagine the freedom that would come your way if your money was freed up for other uses. We're imagining at Edgewood too. And we're looking to God to do something mighty as we seek to proclaim this message so all may know.